Yeah, it looks like everybody's on and we're live, so we can start the meeting.
All righty, I'd like to call this Planning Commission meeting to order. And we'll have Dr. Boston to give us the invocation and the pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, Lord, it's again another time we come before your presence, Lord. First of all, we'd just like to say thank you, Lord. Thank you for all your many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for this great country we live in, Lord. We thank you for our commissioner this evening. Lord, we ask that you would be with us, Lord. Lead, guide, and direct us. We may do those things that are pleasing in your sight. Father, we thank you for all of these many blessings. In your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'd like to thank Dr. Boston for that prayer and the pledge of allegiance. At this time, we want to approve the agenda for this evening.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jenkins.
Second.
Yeah, do I hear a second?
Yeah.
A motion been made by Thomas Jenkins, second by Dr. Buckner. We approve the agenda. All in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next thing on the agenda is the minutes of the August 11th meeting, 2020. I'd like to approve those.
Approve.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Young.
Yeah.
A second.
Second. Randy Wade.
Motion by Mr. Young, second by Mr. Wade. Ready for question?
Questions.
Hearing none, all in favor, let it know by saying aye.
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 Okay, the minutes is approved. The next thing on the agenda is a tax map amendment, changing from residential to community commercial, tax map number 0390012-001. Ms. Wagner, you'll bring us up to date on this?
Yes, sir. So the subject property consists of 2.73 acres that's located along South Okatee Highway, which is also known as South Carolina Highway 315. The applicant has requested a zoning map amendment to have the property designated as community commercial. The property is currently zoned residential and it's undeveloped. The applicant does not have any immediate plans for development, but would like the property to be zoned same as the nearby area. So the zoning map amendment request is reviewed looking at the comprehensive plan. According to the 2018 Jasper County Comprehensive Plan, the future land use map identifies this area as rural transition, which are areas that are located in southern Jasper County and will likely be under pressure to develop within the foreseeable future. It should be noted that the subject property is located near the Levy hamlet. In accordance with the Jasper County Comprehensive Plan, a hamlet should be small and concentrated with growth starting at the center and moving out. Growth should not leapfrog along the corridors, but instead grow organically with an emerging street grid. Additionally, the comprehensive plan recommends that a special area plan should be created for the Levy Limehouse, for the Levy hamlet. The adjacent parcels are zoned residential. There are nearby parcels that are zoned community commercial and rural preservation. The adjacent land uses are residential with commercial land uses nearby. And the property is accessed by South Okatee Highway, which is a 2-lane state maintained highway, and it's classified as a collector road. From a land use perspective, staff does not recommend approval of the request to have the property designated as community commercial. Rezoning of this would be considered leapfrog zoning, And I've included maps in with the staff report, so you'll see your aerial views, the first map attached, and the last map shows the zone and layer, so you can see how that would be a leapfrog. The applicant was with us
All
on the
right, we'll
earlier
start
link.
off.
Okay,
We'll start off, Mr. Bill, do you have any comments on this particular zoning request?
No, I agree with what the staff is recommending.
Mr. Wade?
I think staff has pretty much covered everything. I'm looking at the zoning map, and I mean, it's a number of parcels around it are residential across the street, and I'm in agreement with the staff recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Boston?
Lisa, as far as leapfrogging, how many parcel has to separate the expansion from the property that's being required? I noticed on one side we had like 2 properties in between. What if it was only 1 property in between? Would that still be considered as leapfrogging?
it would be, according to the comprehensive plan in the hamlets, the property should be adjacent.
It has to be adjacent.
That's what is recommended by the comprehensive plan. It should grow out organically, starting at the center. So once the 2 properties in between, if they were to be rezoned to community commercial, then it would be okay to zone this one. But to skip even 1 property would be a leapfrogging.
Well, I know what you recommended. Is there any way to maybe recommend back to the applicant that they may consider contacting the other property owners and doing something like that? I would hate to see if there were just 1 person holding out on this and there are 2 persons on the other side that wants to do this, that 1 person is a holdup.
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah, just give her that information, and maybe the other properties might want to do the same thing.
And the applicant may be on here. I'm not sure. I know she was on the earlier link, and hopefully she was able to join on this link, but I'm not positive without asking the question.
Just a suggestion.
Okay.
Dr. Butler?
Yes, sir. I do have one question. I'm generally reviewing this and taking note of the residential, the homes on the other side of the road. I agree with the staff recommendation. I do have a question though. When are the plans for the hamlets? Where does that stand? I think that's an important part of this whole question.
Unfortunately, we have not started that. We did make contact last year with the same consultant who helped us with the comprehensive plan. But I guess Jasper County had other projects going on, and we pretty much had planned on asking her to look at it this year, but then COVID came about. And it is something we certainly want public participation in those special area plans. But it is on our radar, and I do agree it's important, especially for this area, because I think this area is under pressure more than any other area in the county.
Right. So who is in charge of that process?
The special area plan? Well, so when we determine exactly, like if it's going to be the Levy Limehouse, we would have to get a contract approved by county council.
So it will actually, the stimulus for moving forward comes from the planning office, and then it moves to because I mean, that may take away a need for property owners to request zoning changes depending on how that plan develops. So I think that's really important for us to move on. But thank you. That's it. I like the other members. I support the staff's recommendation.
Mr. Jenkins?
Lisa, just for educational reason, um, I think this is my first time knowing an applicant want to change a zoning map amendment without knowing, what he or she going to put on the property. Did they say to you what they was going to put there? Because
No,
I noticed they asked for this amendment without saying what they're going to put on the property or what's it going to do with the property, even if they got these changes.
I did talk in length with the applicant, and at this time, she really did not have any plans for development. They don't live on the property. They know that there is commercial zoning nearby, and I think she just wanted to go ahead and try to secure the zoning for future development, but not knowing what that is yet. No hard plans as of yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir. I'm in agreement with staff's recommendations, but I do have a question to go along with what Dr. Bostic had asked earlier. If any adjoining property were already zoned community commercial, would that make it possible, even if it weren't the property coming down South Oakity Highway, but say a parcel maybe behind it? Would that be possible?
Well, not really. Behind it is not zone community commercial, so it would need to come from the center.
Okay, I got you. Nothing further.
So you weren't sure whether the applicant was on Zoom with us this afternoon?
I'm not sure. We would need to ask if she's here.
Yes, I've just been able to get in. I was trying to get on Zoom earlier, the other Zoom, but it wouldn't let me in. But I'm going to talk to Cleve, the applicant. Can y'all hear me?
So she's with us.
The question was, the question was if you could see the other two lots that bumps the community commercial, see if they would be interested in getting their property zoned community commercial, and rather than leapfrogging to yours, it may be a possibility that you could get yours zoned community commercial. Would you consider withdrawing your application and talk with your adjacent landowners and see what they feel about zoning, what they would like to zone their property?
Yes. I would like to speak with one of them. I tried to get in touch with one of them when I was speaking with Miss Lisa. She did tell me the name of one of the guys there. It's a commercial LLC company, but I haven't got a response back from them yet, because that is something, because they're already a commercial LLC company that purchased the land next to mine, but they haven't gotten it zoned commercial. So by their name being, commercial LLC, I was thinking they'd definitely be interested in doing that.
At the present time, on both sides of that road, the property is zoned residential. And I mean, the reason I'm asking if you consider withdrawing your application, because if you go forth, then you have to wait 2 years before you can reapply for another zoning designation.
Okay. And if I withdraw at this point, then I will be able to reach out to them and we all can submit an application together. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested in doing that. How long would I have to wait now before I can resubmit?
Well, if you can influence the other individuals between you and the commercial community commercial, that they would like their zone community commercial as well, then as soon as you can get that done, you can remit an application. But if you go forth with your application tonight and get a denial, then you have to wait 2 years before you can reapply again.
Okay. So yeah, I think that would probably be the best option. Because it looks like if you guys are basically heading to go with the guidelines, right? Which would be
I
probably
didn't hear
result
you.
in
Repeat that
denial.
again.
I was saying because you guys are probably leaning towards a denial due to the guidelines for leapfrogging.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah. Then I would probably would like the opportunity to withdraw and reach out to those other landowners and see if we all can submit one in together.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Pinckney?
Yes.
Is she applying for a community commercial or commercial?
Community commercial.
I was looking at her application.
Community
Commercial.
commercial.
Yeah, again, I communicated with Ms. Cleaves before writing the staff report, going over everything with her. And I did ask her and clarify which type of commercial, and she did say community commercial.
Okay, I was just looking at her application.
And I'll be happy to reach out to her tomorrow and assist her with how to move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Lisa.
Commissioners, you've heard what the applicant say. Are y'all okay with that?
Okay, Ms. Bill, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, my understanding that she is withdrawing her application, is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, what do you want, a motion, or you just gonna vote? What are you asking?
If she's withdrawing, I wouldn't think we would need to do anything.
That's right.
Okay. I was just saying so we have something for the record. That's the only reason why I asked the question.
Ms. Lisa, just let the minutes reflect that she withdrawn her application. And you said you'll get with her tomorrow on what she need to do.
Yes, and we'll do that.
Okay. The next thing on the agenda is zoning map amendment from residential to rural preservation. Would you bring us up to date on this application?
Sure. The
There's
subject
two parcels of
property.
land.
Yeah, it is 2 parcels of land. The subject properties consist of 7.18 acres and 5.27 acres. The properties are located at 1970 and 1972 Floyd Road. The applicant has requested a zoning map amendment to have the properties designated as rural preservation. Both properties are currently zoned residential and are undeveloped. The applicant is interested in establishing a nonprofit animal rescue mission, which specializes in caring for large farm animals. According to the comprehensive plan, the 2018 plan, the future land use map identifies this area as rural conservation, which are areas that seek to promote and protect the character of Jasper County that largely exists today outside of the municipalities. The adjacent parcels are zoned residential and rural preservation. Adjacent land uses are residential and vacant property. The subject property is accessed by Floyd Road, which is a 2-lane state-maintained highway classified as a local road. From a land use perspective, staff recommends approval of the request to have the property designated as rural preservation.
Okay, you have heard what she said about this is the same project we looked at last month. We did a text amendment to the zoning chart. I'm going to start with Dr. Buckner.
Okay, Lisa, what we did last month was to add an amendment which allowed the owners of this property to open their horse rescue service, right? There was no recommendation for changing the zoning.
That's right. What we did last time was to change the zoning text amendment to allow the animal shelters for livestock to be located as a conditional use in the rural preservation zoning district.
Oh, okay, so they're not allowed in residential?
We did not recommend that they're allowed in residential. There was a question at the county council meeting about that. So it's possible that the county council will allow them to be a conditional use in residential. But the zoning text amendment that was forwarded from the Jasper County Planning Commission recommended that it only be allowed conditionally in rural preservation.
Okay, and that would be consistent with the some of the property that surrounds. I know it's residential. And my only concern, I mean, we wanted to make sure that they could put this horse rescue there. We were doing what we could to allow them to develop that. But I was checking to see if there are some uses that may not be consistent with the residential properties surrounding this property. There are homes on those. Is that right? There are homes in this area. I can't really tell from my map.
There are a few homes. It's primarily a rural area. There are some houses around there. And I believe not all, but some are the family members. So the applicant's not with us tonight, but his wife is. And she could probably give you a little bit more information about what is located on the properties adjacent to it. And the Oakity Club is the rural preservation area that you see on one side of one of those properties.
Yeah, I've got the map up on my computer so I can see what's there. But okay. I just want a clarification about, why we were coming back to visit this after we just looked at it last week. And so we're just moving forward. So this will be this type of rescue will be at the present time allowed only in rural preservation with conditions. Is that right?
That's the way we presented the ordinance to the county council. And at the end of the meeting, I was going to talk to you about the action that the county council took.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the questions I have then. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah, Mr. Smith.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wade.
Lisa, how large does the parcel have to be in order to be zoned rural preservation?
We don't have a standard for how it has to be zoned rural preservation. In 2007, when we did the rezoning throughout the county, we automatically zoned everything that was 25 acres and greater. There's been a couple of instances where people have come in and requested rezoning to rural preservation on smaller properties. One that I could think of right off is Cook's Landing Road. That was done recently and not too long ago. One in Bellinger Hill. And then there's many plats that get brought into us, especially when someone who has a bigger acreage wants to give their family members some property. And so several properties have been cut that are smaller out of these larger tracts. And so that does not change the zone, and they're still zoned rural preservation. As far as a minimum lot size in rural preservation, like if you were to build a house or if you were to cut a plat, it would have to be 1 acre of land.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Dr. Bostic?
Okay, last month meeting, we had an amendment. This time we're looking for a rezoning. Is that right?
The zoning map amendment, yes.
Okay, and 25 acres or more is considered rural preservation. Is there any negative impact of rezoning this land to rural preservation that would have any negative impact on the community around it?
I don't believe so. The community on one side is there's a lot of rural preservation properties out in this community across the street. Yeah. It's actually a down zoning from residential, especially when you look at minimum lot sizes and densities.
I agree with the staff recommendations.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Young?
Yeah, thank you. I agree with the staff recommendation. Thank you.
So is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I move that we recommend changing the present zoning on parcel 045, 0001, 047, and 048 from residential to rural preservation.
Second the motion.
Second, Bill Young.
Who was it second by?
Dr.
Okay, it
Bostic.
was a motion made by Mr. Wade, second by Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. Young, ready for question? All in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote no, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jenkins.
Okay, the motion is carried. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is PDD, Plan Development. They're requesting a amendment. Ms. Lisa, would you bring us up to date on this?
Yes. So the Peninsula Plan Development District, which is called the Peninsula PDD, was approved by Jasper County Council on August the 2nd, 2004. The Peninsula Tract is located along Argent Boulevard. The only development that's taken place within the Peninsula Tract PDD is the Austin Chase and Brook Mills apartment complexes. The remaining property within the Peninsula Tract PDD is referred to as the Peninsula Tract 1, which consists of 4 properties totaling 374 acres, with 283 of those acres being uplands. The applicants requested an amendment of the concept map for the Peninsula PDD in order to change the arrangement of land uses. The proposed map amendment would reduce the commercial area, eliminate the business park, light industrial area, and replace it with a variety of multifamily and single-family uses. The developer intends to develop the property in accordance with the density that was originally approved in 2004. The concept plan map sets forth the general scope of the development. In addition to the concept plan map, development of the property is controlled by other provisions of the PDD standards and development agreement. The land use areas indicated on the concept plan map were not intended to be rigid, exact boundary lines for future land use and improvements. However, the PDD standards and development agreement must be strictly adhered to. Prior to the development of the property, the applicant must receive master plan and development plan approval. As such, staff recommends approval of the request to amend the concept plan map, which is labeled Peninsula Tract 1. So on the attached to your staff reports, there are 2 maps. The very back map, the last map on the staff report, is the original concept map that was adopted in 2004. And next to the map, just prior to that, it's next to the last page of the staff report is the map, is how they want to change it. So when they come out with a development plan, well, first a master plan, then a development plan, especially the master plan, we do review that to make sure that it is in line with the concept plan. And there are several representatives
Okay.
participating in this meeting.
And the representative is present on this meeting.
Several, yes.
I mean, who is the spokesperson for them? Who can speak to us and tell us what their plans are.
Mr. Munson or Mr. Hay, who would like to speak to the Planning Commission? Or Nicole?
This is Alex from Drayback Capital Partners. I am the applicant. If Nicole is probably the best to speak, otherwise I can speak.
Hey there, this is Nicole. This is Nicole. I'm with Nexon Pruitt and I represent the applicant. So this issue first came up when we were doing our compliance review for the development agreement as required under the State Development Agreement Act. And the plans of the applicant had changed since the development agreement. So Lisa advised us that the best course of action was to submit an application for a concept plan approval so that we could ultimately submit a master plan in compliance with that concept plan. What this revised concept plan does is it doesn't affect the maximum density that was allowed under the original PD or the development agreement. It just rearranges it. And so of the 289 acres that will be developed, they're requesting that commercial have 6 acres, multifamily 32 acres, single family attached 10 acres, and single family detached. Oh, I wrote down the wrong number. Hang on one second, because I know it's not 960 acres. Scott, do you remember what the single family detached acreage was? Well, the remainder of that, so 48 acres minus the balance of the 289 acres would be single family detached. And the concept plan that Lisa submitted in your packet is the arrangement under which they want to develop those acres.
And Mr. Pinckney, if you'd like to see the map, I could share the screen and put the proposed concept map up.
Okay, well, I'll see what commissioners, what
Sure.
questions they may have. I'll start off with Mr. Wade.
Yes. Right now, this is zoned a PDD, right, Lisa?
Yes, that's right.
So what we're doing here is just looking at a concept plan that they're changing a few parts of this PDD. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
It's just rearranging the land uses.
Right, because I'm looking at the I'm looking at the zoning map, and actually Hardyville kind of wraps around it. The town of Hardyville wraps all the way around this, and that was my question on why they wouldn't have wanted to just go ahead and come into the town. But I guess they already have a planning, a development agreement with Jasper County.
That's
so
right.
That's the reason for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I don't think I have any other questions other than that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir. I just got one question. On page 4 of their proposal, section 3E, under the heading of proposed streets, there's a sentence that says, owner reserves the right to seek future county ownership and maintenance of some or all subdivision roads. Is the county now, or will they potentially be under any obligation to do so, or is that just standard language in the PDD regulations?
That's really just standard language, so the county is under no obligation to accept the roads, but the county has provided specs for regulations for someone making that application and the request. Like as part of our regulations, if it's so many feet wide, and there's like certain things if you do that meets the county ordinance, then you can certainly make the request of county council. But again, the council's not required to do it.
Okay. No other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Young?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My only concern is the Argent Road, which is the highway, is 2-lane right now, and that's the heaviest traveled road in the county. I understand there's 40,000 cars a day go on that road. So sooner or later, it's gonna be 4-lane, and I'm in hopes there's enough room. They don't build too close where things will have to be demolished for road construction. That's
So as
my-
part, yes, sir. And as
Okay.
part of the development plan, they will have to give us a traffic impact analysis. And on the last committee, we've identified that area as far as needing to be 4-lane. We're all aware of it, and we're all trying, like the city of Hardeeville and the county, trying to reserve the 50 feet. There is 50 feet reserved in the Peninsula PDD along the road frontage for that purpose.
Right. Thank you. I just understand. I wouldn't want to be living there with cars whizzing by me at 60 miles an hour all night long, blowing the horns. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah. Dr. Butler?
Yes, sir. Lisa, I just have one question. In the map that you sent us, it's referred to as existing apartment complex and existing, well, it's the existing apartment complex. Those properties were developed under the original PDD, is that right? And are excluded from this request?
That's right.
Okay, and what is the out parcel? That's not included either, right?
That is not included, no.
What is that?
I think it's just under different ownership, and maybe the owner or could tell you, but that's my understanding of it.
But does it have a different tax map number?
Yes, it does. It's a whole different parcel.
So we are not including that parcel in this PDD.
That's correct.
It is.
This is Alex from Drapac. So that parcel is owned by a different entity that is not part of Drapac. And so that we're not speaking for them tonight. They would be still under the original development agreement and have all the same conditions under the development agreement.
Already.
So they are part of the original PDD. They're just not included in this proposal.
This request. Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Bassett?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Ms. Lisa, I have one question. In this concept, they asking to amend, that would be more residential, they would be granted. What is the county demand on not outgrowing the areas that we will be able to give service to?
Of course, we do take that into consideration, and if you remember the Clemson report that was done a while back, it's being looked at again, and that's going to be coming to you pretty soon for your review and input, and that will address some of the needs of the county. I would like to say, as far as the residential with this project, it does not exceed what was already approved in 2004. So they locked in their density then, and it will not exceed that number.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Questions, comment before we call for a vote?
No.
Hearing none, I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the staff recommendation to approve the concept plan map amendment of the PDD, Peninsula Tract PDD.
I'll second that.
Lisa, does that amendment capture what you needed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Randy Wake will second that.
A motion has been made by Dr. Buckner, second by Mr. Wade. Ready for question?
Not ready.
Hearing none, all in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Not ready.
I think Dr. Bostic had a question.
Not ready.
This was approved in 2004, which was about 16 years ago. What other things has happened on this road since then that might affect this project? We've had quite a bit of apartments coming up, and anything happening on the other side of the road, or what's going on there?
The two apartments, have been permitted and they're fully operational, which is Brook Mills and Austin Chase. Right here across the street is the Argent Business Park. It's a commercial subdivision. It was approved years ago. Matter of fact, it was actually approved through the city of Hardyville, although it was in the county under the joint planning agreement. But there's been no development there. However, we have just issued a permit for a building on one of those lots, and the same person, he's going to build 2 more buildings. He purchased 3 of the lots, so he's just doing them in phases. Basically, we've had a little single lot development here and there from where Circle K, the redevelopment of the Circle K, and there was a building recently built at Lot 4, Cherry Point Business Park, and a little development up closer to Walmart. Other than that, a lot of the properties are in the city of Hardyville. So I think you've probably seen Sun City expand, and they have an entrance over there on Argent Boulevard now. And I do see some improvements being made. It looks like maybe water and sewer lines, but that's going to be in the city of Hardyville as well. So I'm unfamiliar with that project.
Any of this projects, what's the I guess the relationship between this property and Del Webb? It's a pretty good distance apart.
In my opinion, it's not that far apart. Not at all.
Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah.
I've just heard some rumors that they might be standing on the other side of Argent Boulevard. Are they just rumors? Lisa?
You talking about Sun City expanding, or?
Yeah, yes.
Somebody made a comment.
I was asking you if you were referring to Sun City expanding.
Yes, the Sun City area on the other side in Jasper County, but they're in Hardyville.
That is true. Of course, I haven't really seen the plan, but I did see the plan. So I do know they purchased additional land, and
on the other side of Argent.
Yes,
Okay, well, what's the relationship between this project and that project?
none that I'm aware of.
None.
If there is, I'm not aware of it.
I'll leave it there. All right, thank you, Lisa.
Okay.
Previous question. Is any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it know by saying aye.
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 Any opposers, let it know by saying nay. The ayes have it. It's approved. The next thing on the agenda is training and continued education. Ms. Lisa, you will bring us up to date on what we need to do.
I sure will. So the South Carolina Association of Counties, they're offering online training because of the COVID. So I found the instructions to be a little bit confusing, and I went online myself to see how it works. I'm kind of glad I did. So what's in your package are the actual pages I printed off from going online. So that first set of papers that says welcome to SCAC, that's the South Carolina Association of Counties. I wrote in the website at the top of that page. If you'll put that in your web browser, you'll be able to go there, and that is actually the first page. You would say create a profile under sign in, and then that takes you to the very next page, which is registration. You need to register as a planning commission member. And then that will take you to the next page that says get connected. And on get connected, you put in your username, your first name, and your last name. Your username could be your email address, or you can make up a username. And then you hit continue, and then it takes you to the fourth page, which is step 2, member information. And I wrote in there, fill in all the blocks below, but you don't have to fill in all the blocks. You just have to fill in all the blocks with the red asterisks. Once you do that, your profile is set up. They may send you an email, but you need to exit out of that site, and then you need to go to the second set of paperwork that was in your package. And again, I wrote in that web address, which is My Crowd Wisdom through South Carolina Association of Counties, and you would accept the privacy policy, and then it will take you to the next page, and on the second page, you'll see the catalog tab at the top. You would click there, and then you can see what all courses they offer, and you could pick whichever courses you need. For Mr. Smith and Dr. Butler, y'all do need some orientation training, so you'll see that on there. You need a total of 6 hours. You're not expected to get it all at once, but I think each of those, there's 2 classes and they're 3 hours. So once you start, it's very important that you continue that one course, whether it's an hour and a half or whether it's 3 hours, because they have it set up where they're tracking your time. And when you're done, they'll send you a certificate. And we need a copy of your certificate to file with the clerk of the council. So all the other members need at least 3 hours of continuing education.
Lisa, those hours, this is Deborah Butler, those hours that I got last year.
Those were continuing education. So you have to get 3 hours every single year of continuing education. But because you didn't get the orientation training, we didn't do it because I kept thinking they were going to give us some new board. We had the 1 vacant seat on the planning commission. We had 2 vacant seats on the board of zoning appeals. And my plan was to get everybody that needed orientation training done at one time, but that hasn't happened, so we can't continue to wait on it.
Okay, it says mine is under review. Is that normal? Is that what I should expect when I signed up? Your account is currently under review?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay, well, I probably missed a step, but anyway. I-
You can also reach out to them. I noticed on one of them, there was a phone number if you needed help to call. But
Yeah,
also, if y'all need any help from me, if you call me, I'm happy to try and walk you through it as well.
I
thank
have
you.
a question. Question. Mr. Pinkney,
Yes.
I have a question. Since, some of us, our term have expired, do we still need to go through this process? Or do we need to wait until we get reappointed before we go through all of this?
Well, that's a good question. I guess you could wait till you get reappointed. I know that it's on the agenda again for Monday night, at least to be talked about in executive session so that we can try and, we brought it up at the last council meeting, but nobody,
Well,
the council members weren't prepared to make a motion. So it's going to be discussed again, at least in executive session this Monday night.
so are you saying I should wait until after I've been approved for another term, or what are your
You
recommendations?
You certainly could. And hopefully after Monday night, I could update you on that. I sure hope.
Okay. It seems like a lot of paperwork we're gonna have to go through here. And I'd hate to do all that and then be terminated.
It is because, I was logging in for my own self and then I got a message saying, you already have an account. And they said they were going to email me because I kept trying to put in what I would think is my password and it wouldn't accept it. And they were supposed to email me to reset it. I haven't gotten that email yet. And it took me like 2 months to get a return phone call from them, but I knew they were in the middle of developing this online portal, so it just got finished.
Just keep us updated.
Yes, sir. But the two new members, their terms don't expire, so they definitely need orientation training.
Mr. Chairman. Randy Wade. Lisa.
Yes.
Yes.
From what I'm gathering, they have not approved ours sitting on the board again. Okay. My other question was, I'm looking at these classes that that are options for us. Do you know if these are classes that any of these are classes that we've already taken? Because obviously you're not going to get credit twice for the same class.
At this time, the way they're operating, you could. I don't think that all of these have been done. Some of these were just recently submitted by other planners. Like I see one on here about level 2 current issues moving forward with the COVID-19 pandemic. I know that's new. The last 3 on the last page, I think those were the ones. Those 3 might be repeat courses from last year. I would have to pull the classes we had last year and see, but I think all the rest of them is fairly new material.
If you wouldn't mind terribly looking at that, make sure that we're not going to be, somebody's not taking a class and sitting through 3 hours and then not get credit for it because they've already taken it. That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Is there any other questions or comment?
Mr. Chairman, Bill Young, when are we gonna be able to get
Yes.
back? Excuse me. When are we gonna be able to get back on our regular scheduled meetings and have it, so we don't have all this electronics problems?
I don't know the answer to that.
That controlled by the county council?
At this time, the administrator and the county council will let us know when the building will be reopened. So I know I'm getting real tired of it too.
Yeah, well, with only 7
have-
of staff, we do not need to take up not have a crowd where it'd be a problem. So, and maybe 5 or 6 visitors. Thank you.
Sure. And they're monitoring the numbers for the county and Pacific and trying to follow those recommendations. So.
Well,
Is there any other question and comment on the orientation and continuing education?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jenkins, I am in no hurry getting back to in-person, long as it save lives. I'm happy with what you're doing until we can be safe. Lisa, I'm happy with what's going on, long as we're safe.
Okay, it's noted.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is an update on the zoning text amendment for the animal shelter in the rural preservation zoning district.
So at the September 8th county council meeting, that was presented exactly the way it left the planning commission, which was to change the zoning text to allow animal shelters as a conditional use in the rural preservation zone. It was presented for first reading, and the county council made a motion to allow it as a conditional use in all zoning districts because of the conditions that were associated, the 5 acres and all. So they felt that there were protections in place to allow them in all zoning districts. So we're going to have the second reading and a public hearing on this Monday night, the 21st. So I just wanted to let you know, in case you wanted to submit any comments, but again, that's just totally up to you. I think all public hearing comments have to be submitted by 11 o'clock Monday morning on the 21st. And in the meantime, I have written a memo to the county council and asked them for 4 Pacific zoning districts not to allow the animal shelters as conditional use. 2 of those are the community commercial and general commercial. They're already allowed by right as a permitted use. And you have like the Palmetto Animal League and Riverwalk is own general commercial. And if it became a conditional use, they wouldn't meet the conditions for the 5 acres. So then they would be made non-conforming. I just don't see basically why you would make them conditional when they're already permitted. And then I asked them to consider not allowing it in the resource conservation and the resource extraction zones because resource extraction is on the shelf. It's for people to come in and ask for rezoning if they want to have a mining operation. And our resource conservation zone are sensitive areas that are located along the tide areas and the marshes. We only have a few, like the Savannah National Wildlife Refuge. That's resource conservation. There's an area on going to Clio between Tom Godey Road and BNC Landing, where those hardwood trees and all, they're under conservation with the South Carolina Wildlife owns that property now for purposes of conserving them. And then there's the area also that's owned by the Nature Conservancy and South Carolina Wildlife. Is the area near the port project, but it's at the very, very end of that tip, and it's basically all wetlands.
I have a comment. Lisa, I like what you just said that you're doing. It seems like a lot of things you want to try to explain to them. It seems like this would have been a better issue that would have been referred back to the planning commission and let's talk about this and work through all these details rather than you trying to put together a letter to explain where it should go and where it should not go. It seems like that's the purpose of the planning commission. Are they sidestepping or what's bringing this on? I know we're an advisory group and they make the decision, but it seems like they normally make the decision based on what the commission brings to them rather than creating their own.
I think that, I mean, just personally, I believe that their intent was to include residential. And, you know, part of our ordinance does say if it's a major change, it should come back to the planning commission for review. I mean, it kind of took me by surprise, so I'm just letting you know. And again, it was just first reading, so I'm more than happy to point out to the administrator and the county attorney and ask the question, should it come back to the planning commission for review, especially for third reading?
Mr. Pinckney, Mr. Pinckney, is he, can he hear?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Listen to speak. I'm sorry. I totally agree with what Dr. Bostic had to say. I really felt like a proper hearing for this would be first with the Planning Commission. And then, I mean, of course, the County Council has the right to make any decision, but you have so much that you've brought to the table that needs to be discussed. It doesn't get a proper hearing this way. And so Mr. Pinckney, Lisa, whoever needs to represent our point of view, if that with the council, if that's the way the majority feels. But anyway, I just wanted to express my support of Dr. Bostic's comments.
Any other comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. So Lisa, based on what council voted to do at the September 8th meeting, there would have been no need for the zoning request change that we voted on tonight for the Floyd Road property. So basically council would allow an animal shelter on 5 acres and that was zoned residential, 5 acres or more that was zoned residential. So that property owner really didn't need to go through the process of being rezoned. Is that a correct statement? That's
correct. And so he was present on the Zoom meeting for council, and he called me next day and said, I guess I don't need to rezone. But I told him, you know, things could change, and I had kind of hoped they would reconsider. So I did tell him, since he had already filed the application for rezoning, the property owner tonight that you reviewed, so I told him I thought they should go forward. I mean, it can always be stalled at council, but there's no need for them to rezone.
Right. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, sir.
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, Randy White. I'm wondering if we maybe shouldn't have staff draft a letter to council with all of the commissioners, if all of the commissioners are in agreement, recommending that this comes back before us instead of council taking it up, like Dr. Bostic was indicating.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Yes, I'm listening.
Mr. Jenkins, are we talking about the same project that came before us last month and this month? That same project y'all voted up and I voted down. Is this the same project?
Yes.
Well, I don't see what the difference is now. Y'all unless we have some other issues with it. But I had issues with it from the beginning. That's why I voted no. So I don't know why we're still talking about a project that the commission has already been approved and sent to council.
No, you're missing the point.
Yeah,
Council have changed what the council have changed what we sent up to them, and they'll add to it where they are approving where animal shelters can be in all zoning districts. We only amend in the rule preservation. So on what you said, Mr. Wade, you like to make a motion on that? We,
Yeah, I can make a motion that we have staff draft a letter to council recommending that this comes back before the planning commission instead of council taking it up. And I'll make that motion.
okay, do I hear a second?
I'll say,
Um,
The motion been made by Mr. Wade, second by Mr. Young. Ready for question?
I
Uh,
have I
Not,
have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I would also suggest that we ask Lisa to check with the attorney to find out if their action is in violation of their own rule. In other words, should this come back by, is that ordinance, Lisa? That would lie out there. My mouth's not working in my brain tonight, but anyway, that would tell them what they need to do, how they should handle this.
Sure. I do try to tread lightly because they're the adopting body of all the ordinances. So I agree with Mr. Wade. Maybe we want to check with the attorney first, just to say, hey, shouldn't this really be coming back to the planning commission? And if it's something that he might can gently suggest that it probably needs to, before y'all take any more action, send it back to the planning commission, because at this time, what you have is a zoning text amendment that has changed. It's changed significantly due to their action on September the 8th.
Okay, so I think that, but I think that's smart what you've just laid it out for us, and I think that we do.
And then if that's not the case, they take further action, then we certainly need to get the letter to them. And again, I wrote them a memo and I just sent it out today. So.
Okay. Now, my understanding then, Lisa, is that you've already written a memo to council?
Yes, my memo was really not from y'all. It was just, based on our zoning ordinance and what we've adopted, what we say about the intent of the resource extraction and the resource conservation zones. I pointed that out in the memo. And also that if there's no need for it to be conditional in general commercial and community commercial, because it's allowed by right, and we would be making one business that we know non-conforming if it were conditional. So my hope was that they would reconsider it, but again, I tread lightly.
yeah, I would just say that this letter would be sort of like a support in which you've already
Sure.
done, but now you have sort of like a planning commission behind what you're saying, really. Just
Right.
a little extra. I go with the letter as well.
Okay. I'll get on it tomorrow.
Okay, previous question, and all in favor of that motion should get that memo out to the county council on behalf of the planning commission. Let them know by saying aye.
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 all right,
Any opposers?
I got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
There was a motion, I believe, by Mr. Waite to send that letter, but then there was a suggestion by Lisa to check with the county attorney prior to drafting that letter and sending it out. So are we voting on Mr. Waite's motion, or are we voting on Ms. Wagner's suggestion?
Well, I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to amend it, put that in there after she checked with the county attorney and get the legal advice on that. She have our approval to do the letter.
And I'll
Mr.
make
Wade,
that amendment.
you agree to amend your motion?
Yes, sir. I'll amend that motion for Lisa to check with the attorney first.
And Mr. Young, you still second that motion?
yes,
So everybody's still in favor of that motion?
Well, I just would like to say one thing.
Let them by saying aye.
Oh. Um,
Go ahead, Dr. Butler.
If Lisa's strategy works and the attorney goes to the council and advises them not to move forward, is a letter necessary? Or Lisa can make that determination? I mean, because that's essentially what you're planning to do, is get the attorney to handle this rather than have it come from you. And I understand that. So did they follow his advice usually?
Much better than mine, yes.
Okay, I don't know that it matters. Maybe it's a good idea to have the letter regardless of whether they change their minds about passing that ordinance or not, just as a reminder. Okay, I'm good with it. Thank you.
Did everybody vote unanimous on that?
Okay. I mean, what we mainly trying to make them aware of, what they're recommending is not the best practices for what they're recommending.
Right.
Okay, is there any other questions? Kind of open discussion?
I don't have anything else. Did the whole group vote unanimous on that last motion?
Yes,
Aye. Vote aye.
Yeah.
On the amended
I'll
motion.
vote aye.
I vote aye. Bill Young.
Okay,
Mr. Jenkins, aye.
thank you.
Mhm.
Is any other discussion?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I just want to bring up something that I saw online for Jasper County. Lisa might can give us a little update on it. There's some ladies got this bucket program during this pandemic. Lisa, are you familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that. No, sir.
They cleaning up Jasper County, and they recommend each person get a bucket, and they said you could pick up your trash in your community, your area, and take a picture and send it to them, and they'll post it, because as they realized during the pandemic, people have been throwing out a lot of trash and litter, and they still want to keep Jasper beautiful.
Okay.
I had the names and everything written down somewhere, but I don't have it in front of me right now.
Would it have been Lynn Bowles or Ms. Daly from the Grays area?
Lynn Boyles. She's over Keep Jasper Beautiful. And the only reason I know, she sent me an email about it, about the project. It was a kickoff last week. I don't know if they're still doing it or not, Mr. Pinckney. But
Yeah, it's supposed to go on for a while.
Oh, is it? Okay, well, it's a good idea. Mr. Pinckney, have I missed my opportunity to ask a question? Just a minute.
No, go ahead.
You know, since I've been on the Planning Commission, I've looked at this from, I guess, more of the people who violate the rules that are in place. We have a real problem that could be best addressed through education. And because I don't think people know. And I don't know if that is something that the commission should be concerned about, but somebody needs to be. We come in after the fact when things have been done which violate the codes that we've set out, but people don't know. They don't, and I think we have an educational responsibility. It should be part of the mission of what we set out to do. I don't know if that's something that we could talk about at some point, but I just want to throw that notion out there. My daughter's a first grade teacher, and they, you know, one of the children shared that his dad threw bags of trash out the window. And I thought, what a wonderful opportunity to teach our children about, how to keep our community clean. but also reaching forward. I mean, we need to let people know what our rules are, where they can find them, that there are penalties attached. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that out. I'm a big believer that education is the best way to approach improving the way our county looks, in conjunction with good rules, sensible rules, and enforcement. And I think we fall really short on the educational aspect. Anyway, that was my 2 cents for tonight.
Uh, I, I agree with Dr. Butler and what she's saying. And this is something that I really think that our enforcement people, it's like if you have the fire department goes out and talk about fire prevention, you have the police go out and talk about this, whoever is enforcing these things need to let the public know that these are laws out there that need to be abided by. So whoever's enforcing these things, they definitely need to do a better job of educating the public.
Well, that's really been the Planning Commission to Lisa's staff, which is extremely overworked from what I understand. We have that new person that was hired in the Sheriff's Department who doesn't have a handle on the rules yet. It's my understanding he's not even functioning as a code enforcement officer, is he, Lisa?
I do know, I talked to him last week and he is working on trash. But it's so bad in the county.
But
And he is going to go out with me this Friday. We're going to go issue a citation, and I'm trying to get him trained, but I don't know the exact understanding there.
I do think Dr. Bostic's right. You have that would be a wonderful place for this to begin. I mean, even if they only attack the abandoned vehicle problem in our county as a place to start, to let people know what the rules are about that. I mean, we could work hand in hand with the cleanup crew and get our entire county to be more beautiful. But anyway, I don't know. I think that we have to reach out and try to start something if we want it to, if we ever want it to get better here. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Lisa, is it illegal for us to put some of these rules on the county website?
No, I guess it's just a matter of people knowing where to go look. I don't, I know the zoning ordinances on the website, but again, a lot of people don't understand. You're talking 21 chapters, and not everybody knows where to find everything. When it comes to land development regulations, I have engineers contact me and ask me where to find certain things. Then we also have the Muni Code, which is all of the Jasper County Code of Ordinances. It's on the South Carolina Muni Code website. That is pretty easy to find all the ordinances there. But again, if people don't know to do that, then
no, I think. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think it has to be extremely watered down. I think small blurbs. People are going to, if we had access to Facebook to put something very simple on, abandoned cars are not allowed in Jasper County. Just small blurbs that could be put on there. I don't see this. This is a plan that needs to be developed. These are just ideas. Somebody needs to take responsibility for it. And I agree with Dr. Bostic. Putting it with the code enforcement office might be a good place to start. Because it can't be something overwhelming. Everybody's overworked as it is. But if we could get small blurbs of information to let people know that they not only are there rules out there, maybe something simple to tell them where they have to go find them. But anyway.
Jasper County did just hire a consultant to manage a Facebook page for the county, but I believe that is actually falling under our IT department. I'm not sure really who has control of what goes on there, but that's something they just started.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Maybe we can provide them with some information. Again, I think it's got to be short, sweet, and very focused. And easy to look at as you're scrolling.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
One, I'll be very brief.
Hearing none, I entertain a motion that we.
I
Okay.
think there's a question, Mr. Chairman, on the floor.
I just had one comment, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman. I'll try to be brief. I agree with Dr. Butler and Dr. Bostic. I would like to say, however, even though it's 2020, not everybody uses computers or Facebook. And there's a lot of our zoning ordinances that the public that I've spoken to are not aware of. And people who are in violation don't realize they're in violation. People who don't agree with some of the ordinances and question why ordinances are what they are. I would propose that we even go to a point of having, in the future, maybe having community meetings to discuss some, take a half a dozen bullet points of the most prevalent infractions or whatever, and discussing it at various community meetings outside of county council chambers. I'm talking about going into the communities, to the community centers and stuff, and bringing to light these things, because there are a huge number of people who aren't aware of the ordinances that are on the books, much less where to find the books and peruse those books and see what the ordinances say. So I'll just leave that there.
Mr. Chairman, can I add this one short caveat? Another thing, I get approached a lot about, people have a misunderstanding about our land use changes. And I get approached all the time about our trailer, that thing we changed on the 30-year trailer. Why y'all want to stop old trailers from coming in the county? You'd be surprised how I get approached all the time about those changes. And you're right, we need to find some way of educating these people of what these changes are and what these laws are. But those are the two things I get approached for the most: land use changes and the old trailers.
Any other questions or comment?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we stand adjourned.
Hearing none.
Second.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Jenkins, second.
Okay, we stand adjourned to our next scheduled meeting in October.
Good night,
And
everybody.
that's October what? Night.
Let everybody
Hi,
stay
everyone.
safe.
Night.
Thank you. Good night.
Stay safe.
What is the date of the next meeting, October what?
9th, October 9th.